Hey everybody, it's Deja from knitandcrocheteverafter.com, and today we are making the perfect summer scarf. As you can see, this is a super lacy scarf made in lace weight yarn that is great for summertime. It's with a Malabrigo wool lace, and just so you know, wool does not only have to be used in winter. Wool has great thermodynamic properties. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's good for water wicking. It's good for when you're hot. It's good for when you're cold. It's like magical fibers. And if you don't have a wool allergy, I definitely recommend you trying some wool in the summer because it actually can help keep you cooler. So I'm going to show you how to make this super easy scarf, 1 row repeat. Just download the pattern in the description and we'll get started. So we're gonna start with our foundation chain, and it's a really long one. It's hundreds of chains because we're going lengthwise on the project. I can't even put the whole thing in the screen. So my recommendation, when you're making the chains, put some locking stitch markers depending on how many you have. It's easier to keep track, like maybe every 20, 40, but every 50 at least. So that way, if you accidentally, your hook falls out and you maybe lose a chain, you'll be able to just count back from the last stitch marker. So you can go 50, 100, 150, and then count what you have there. And then you can keep going so that you don't have to sit there and count every single chain to make sure that you have the right amount. And you can still kind of fudge it because the basics of this stitch are skipping chains. So if you're 1 chain off at the very end of your first row, just don't worry about it. Just skip only 2 chains because you can make it up for the rest of the project. But if you're like me, I always frog and fix it because that's how I am. So if you're like that, definitely use some stitch markers to save some time and stress. So let's go start the foundation chain and do our first row, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so we're going to begin our foundation row, and as I said before, this row or this foundation chain is super long. I'm doing a much shorter one just so you can see the repeat quickly because it is a super easy repeat. But as I said before, use locking stitch markers so that you can keep track of how many stitches you've made already. So this can be customized. You're going to follow the instructions on the pattern if you want it the same size as me, but you can make it longer or shorter by doing multiples of 6, and then you'll add 5. So you'll have multiples of 6 for the length you want, and then add 5 for our beginning turning chain. So I have 18 here, which is 6 times 3, and then I have to do my 5 after that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm ready for row 1, and row 1 and every other row is pretty much the same, just a tiny difference on row 2 and all the rest of them. So we'll go over that, but we're going to do treble crochets. So we're going to yarn over twice to get started, and we're going to skip our first 4 chains and work into our 5th. So I'm going to look for 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's my 5th chain. And because I don't have a border on this, I want to work into the bottom bump to give it a nice edge. So I'll show you what that looks like once we get through the row, but you can work in whatever side you want. You can put a border on it of single crochets or whatever you like, but for me, I'm going to keep it borderless, and I'm going to work in that bottom bump. So I work 2 stitches off at a time for my treble, and then I'm going to do 2 more trebles, 1 in each of the next 2 chains. So I get that bottom bump again, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 for a 3rd or treble time. Easy way to remember that. 1 more, 1, 2, 3. So that is the beginning of a repeat. Then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to skip my next 3 chains. Then, guess what I'm going to do? Another 3 trebles. So this is a very easy to remember pattern because you're just doing a lot of 3s. So we're doing 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. Going 2. The hardest part to remember is to yarn over twice, or get through splitty yarn like what I'm working with right now, but it's so soft. So I've got almost 2 repeats. My end of my repeat is a chain 3 and skipping those next 3 chains. Then I'm gonna do 3 more. So skip 3, 1, 2, 3, still working into that bottom bump. Okay, now I've come to my last 4 chains. So I'm gonna skip the next 3, gotta do those chain 3s first. 1, 2, 3, skip the next 3, and then we're just gonna do 1 treble crochet in that last stitch. Easy peasy. So that gives us a chain on the bottom. So when we work into that bottom bump, it gives us a nice little edge of the chain, rather than if you use the back loop and you get kind of just this front loop wonky edge. So now we're going to move on to row 2, which is the final repeat row that you need to remember, because that's all you're going to do for the rest of the project. So we've got that first row down. Now we are ready for the rest of it. So we're doing 19 more rows of the same thing pretty much. Just got to tweak the beginning because, you know, turning chains and everything. So let me show you a real quick second row, which is going to be the same for the rest of the project. Okay, we're ready for row 2 and every row after that. We're going to chain 4, which is just going to get us started. And then this is the only little tweak from the original row. Instead of working into chains, we're going to work around the chain. So we're going to do 3 trebles around the chain 3, and then we're going to do chain 3s and skip the 3 trebles. So knowing what you need to do next is you just got to look at what you got below, because you're going to do the opposite. So we're going to chain 3 to skip past these 3 here, and then we're going to yarn over twice and treble into this chain 3 space 3 times. Super easy, super fast to do with trebles. It's, you know, you can use big yarn like this to make the project go even faster. Would still be pretty cool for the summer, but the lace weight definitely makes it super cooling and not bulky, because you really don't want that around your neck in the summertime. So here we are at the end of the row, and we're going to do chain 3, and then we're going to work a treble, not a double, in the top of that chain 4. A little more slack. And that's it. Like, it's the same thing. So when you turn, you're doing chain 4 and working into these chain 3s again, and you just keep offsetting it until you have the width that you want. So very simple. So we'll go talk about blocking. All right, you've finished the entire scarf. You just have to weave in some ends, and then you can block it. And you can see I'm scrunching this thing up, I'm messing with it, I've done a photo shoot with it, and it is still laying like very nicely. If I unfold it, you can see that it's not, this yarn actually works really well at holding the shape of this and not getting all funky where you have to block it every time you wear it or every time you wash it. So it's a really good yarn. I love Malabrigo. If you've never seen it, most of it is just, I'm gonna say most of it, all of it is beautiful, soft, wonderful colors. They're like kettle dyed. I'll link to them in the description so you can go check them out. And they're pretty reasonably priced for how much you get. Like this skein, I used maybe half of it. It's not a skein, it's a hank, but it has like 470 yards. So you can definitely make a full shawl out of this, and you could even continue the rows and make a shawl. So if you wanted, and you can see this like actually, you know, for like a summer wedding or something, you have quite a bit of arm coverage. You know, you could tie it around because, you know, we don't like the bat wings showing. So you can definitely use that or keep going and make it wider because it's such a simple, you know, process. It's just a 1 row repeat. So that is the perfect summer scarf. I'm Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and thank you for watching.